Welcome, everybody, to Born Broke with Mike Hofarth. And today we are going to talk about the importance of preparing for retirement. Not everybody does it. Actually, all of us pretty much don't do it, except for the few.
That's correct.
I don't know what the percentage is, but.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't think the percentages matter really. I think that the importance is people listen to this podcast and they are reminded what's important. And what's important is when your parents or your grandparents or your friends or your uncles or your aunts tell you about preparing for retirement, it might be worth a listen.
It's always the old people.
But it is because
Now
they've been through
we're
it.
the old guys now.
Yeah, but I know that we're kind of the old guys, but what I'm trying to do is kind of break that mold, because when people, the old people, if you will, or the older people who had been through it would tell me, oh, prepare for retirement. I'm like, what am I preparing for? I have no money. So what do you do? But I can tell you this, George, if I had access to the retirement calculators that exist on the internet back when we were younger and people were talking about it and I actually gave it a shot, I would have been obsessed. Now, would I reached my goals? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. But it could have at least mentally set me on a path or a roadmap to strive for some stuff. Because what I'm talking about here are these calculators that I've become obsessed with in the recent years or so. And Prudential. This is not a Prudential spot, but Prudential is one that comes to mind. It's one that I use often. And I don't know why people wouldn't go check out Prudential's retirement preparation calculators, because ultimately they're free. They don't cost you any money.
Yep.
And what you do is you put in your current age, you put in where you think you want to retire, and it's all free. And you can do it over and over, and you can play games with it. Like if you're a person at home and you like video games, this is a perfect thing to play with. Because what it does, it sets up and it'll give you a curve of like whatever numbers you put in. So you put in your current age, you put in where you want to retire. Let's say 46, I want to retire at 55. I currently make X amount. I put in my salary. I've currently saved X amount to date.
I know what you're talking about. So, I've done these because I did it when I was like, I don't know, probably like 10, 15 years ago. Since like the internet, right?
Sure,
like there's always been these calculators, but now they're probably more accessible. And you'd put in it like, okay, I'm 25 years old and the payment is tiny. Or just putting that money aside, whatever you do with it, whatever investment. And then when you roll it up to like 48, which, we're coming up on 50. So now if you put that in with the money that you already have saved, that number becomes
exponential.
It's huge.
Yeah, it's massive.
It's and then that doesn't account for also funding your children's college.
Yeah.
This is just your retirement.
This is just
it's not about like putting your kids through college. So then that becomes more, more daunting.
Yeah, and if you go in there, you can. Prudential is the one that I use. Not to say it's the best or whatever. It's just one I remember. But there's a million of them. But the one I use, it has in an estimated of inflation. It has an estimated rate of return while you're currently working, which is a little bit higher. And then it bumps it down for when you're retired because you're going to play it a little more safe, right? But like George said, the earlier, and we're all told this, but the earlier you can start, the better off you'll be. And life goes very fast. I'm not here to be morbid, but it goes really fast.
100%.
So like George was saying, if you play with this and you're 25 years old, and maybe you can only feel like you can put a couple $100 away or $1,000, right? It's going to start to compound more than you'll even realize until you're
automatic though. Automatic. You got to do an automatic withdrawal. So that money is just already gone.
Yes.
And then you know that you have nothing to spend.
Yeah, because they take it away from you, so you don't even feel it. Right. You don't feel it. You just know it's there. You never touch it. The other thing that's really cool about some of the plans, depending on what plan you have for retirement, there's a million of them. And I would say go to your bank and consult somebody or consult a financial advisor that can help you with stuff like this, because they can set you on the path of one that maybe is better for you specifically early on, and that could maybe roll into another one later or whatever have you. But I know there's plans where the automatic withdrawal is a great thing.
Mhm.
George just talked about the automatic withdrawal because you never see it, you never feel it, you live off of what you get. It just
Yep.
continues to build 4, 5, 6, 7, 10 years down the line. You look in there and you're like, I've got like 50 grand in there. I got 150 grand, whatever it be, depending on how much you set to automatic withdrawal. But I think that the important thing is start as early as you can, right? Just start putting a little bit away, and it really does add up.
Mhm.
If we
If
had
you're
done
in
this,
debt,
well, if you're in debt, try to
which a lot
chisel.
of people are,
Well, again, that's a good question.
do you wipe out the debt? And there's 20 ways to
I think
skin
you,
a cat, as they say.
I think you do simultaneous, to be
Mhm.
honest. And the reason why I say simultaneous, some people will probably tell you to wipe out your debt,
Mhm.
right? But that takes a lot of discipline. I
Mhm.
would continue the course like George had mentioned of the automatic withdrawal, so you never see it or touch it. Deal with your debt with what you actually have to live off of, and then chisel.
Cut elsewhere.
Correct. Start
Yeah.
chiseling that debt off as
Yeah.
fast as you can because you don't want to pay the interest. But the reason why I say that is because a lot of these so-called retirement accounts with the automatic withdrawals,
Mhm.
they're tax deferred
Mm.
or they're tax free. So it's all
Mhm.
pre-tax money that goes in.
Like a 401 Roth 401k.
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
The SEP IRA, 401k,
Mhm.
all those things. Like that's why I say go to your bank if you don't have a financial advisor. Go to a financial advisor if you have access to one. Tell them your situation. Tell them what you want to do. Set something up.
Mhm.
Start putting that money away and play with these calculators. These calculators can set the threshold of what your goals should be for the next 10, 15, 20 years. George said 25. We're almost 50. That's half of our life. Had we
Mhm.
been doing this for 25 years and we looked
Yeah.
at it when we were 25, we'd be in a completely different scenario than we are currently.
Yeah.
It's and the calculator does all the work for you. And what I find fascinating about the calculator when you play with it, it gives you a graph. So to tell you, okay, your age, your retirement that you want to retire at age,
Mhm.
it gives you what you're making, what you've put away. It gives you inflation. It gives you rate of return, right? Which are all averages. So if you tweak all that stuff, I can't help you. But if you leave the averages, it's historical, and it'll give you a graph, a bar. So it'll tell you where you currently are, where you're going to be when you retire, if you stay on whatever path is that you plugged in, where
Mhm.
you will be. And then you have to estimate, which sounds morbid, when you'll pass. So I
Mhm.
take an average, like for men currently, I think the average life expectancy is about 82 or 83 years old. Okay.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm going to
2024.
100.
Well, there you go.
100% going to 100.
I'm going to 122.
There you go.
So there
The
you have it.
technology, it's getting better.
Absolutely.
People are living longer.
100%.
You got to think you're going to live longer.
Yeah. Well, we what's really cool, George? We have an episode coming up about that brain power.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
That's a real good one. And you know what? It actually releases not tomorrow, but in a week.
Oh nice. Should we like tease it or what?
Sure.
Go for it.
So we have a heart transplant recipient who was told the multitude of things you won't be able to do. You won't be able to see, be able to walk, drive, blah, 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 blah. He's done 5 marathons.
5 marathons, yeah.
Since
Yeah.
within a couple years.
Yeah.
And he tells a tremendous story about the power of his brain.
Yeah.
Like thoughts,
Mm-hmm.
like the power of your brain and your thoughts with your overall well-being and your because when your body takes on, and if you watch the episode, when your body takes on like an organ, it tries to reject it.
Yeah.
So you have to take medications. But he talks about minimizing those medications
Mm-hmm.
and pushing himself as hard as he can,
Mm-hmm.
because I'll let them watch. You have to watch the episode.
No, it's a great, and his name's Saucy, which is, I mean,
Yeah.
how could you not want to watch an
Amazing.
episode with somebody called Saucy?
Yeah.
Heart
Amazing.
transplant survivor, stud,
Yeah.
and just mental mastery.
Unbelievable.
Like, I mean, that whole conversation, I was driving home going, I don't have any problems worth even bringing up to myself, to my family, to you. It was just, and it's almost like you need to be reminded
Yeah.
of that. But not to go on a tangent, but we can go back into finances, which could also be morbid, stressful. There's no way out. How am I going to do it? Well, you just got to start, right?
You got to
And we've all been there.
You
Had to start. I've had to. I was able to put a lot of money away prior to getting married, and then you get married, and you're like, okay, you got to dip into some things, and then you you start having kids, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm not able to allot that same amount into my retirement account because I'm just trying to live and then just plan for. I mean, it was just it becomes more stressful when you're not single. Put it that way.
Oh yeah, because you just have more responsibility.
For sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think the big thing, not to bore everybody out there right now, but I'm going to rush a little bit, but it's like going back to that curve.
Mm-hmm.
When you see that curve, you can beat the system
Mm-hmm.
because that curve will take you through where you're going to get off the train. And a lot of times, if you don't do your finances properly,
Mm-hmm.
the curve will go down and you'll spend all your money before you die, which might be your plan.
Mm-hmm.
You may not want to leave anything anywhere. So you may want to try to zero it out if you can pick when you think you're going to pass,
Mm-hmm.
right? So then you would see a curve like this. However, if you have children, if you have a significant other, if you have people you want to leave anything to, you can beat that curve. So what it does, it tells you when you retire how much, based on what you've plugged in, you should live off of every year.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll tell you, and that curve won't do one of these. That curve
Just keep going.
can keep going.
Yeah.
So when you pass at 82 or 83,
Yeah.
you could be absolutely shocked at how much money could be in that account. So
You're changing your risk profile.
correct.
Yeah. You got to be more aggressive to keep.
Correct. So I highly urge you go play with these retirement calculators. They are absolutely free.
The prudential.com /
Yeah, I would just Google Prudential. I would just Google because they're not paying for the episode. Google Prudential, retirement calculator, or just Google retirement calculators and
Yeah.
see which one works for you.
Yeah.
But I would say look at beating the curve, play with it, see if you want to drop off and spend everything you have because you don't want to leave anything when you leave. You want to just make sure you maximize your stuff, whatever your plan is. But they're free.
Mm-hmm.
I would suggest at any age go play with it.
Yeah.
If you're older and you haven't started retirement, you're probably going to get discouraged.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't mean you shouldn't go do it anyway because it's never too old to start. But the sooner you start, the better.
Right.
Plan for retirement as soon as you can. Put your money away. Be successful.
Yeah, I agree. And I think also, to your point, I think it helps for me whenever I'm saving money and putting it in for retirement, I'm visualizing what I want to go do, right? Whether it's, go off to a certain place and live for a while or travel or do whatever it is. Because if you're just saving money arbitrarily, you're just going, it's just in there and there's no goal, that might fall off. Because as easy as it is to make it like a quick withdrawal, an automatic withdrawal, guess what? It can also come back the other way and say, no, cancel that. I want to go on a trip. Because if you lose sight of your goals and you don't make them fun and always keep them top of mind, I think people fall off with saving money.
Absolutely.
I mean,
it's a discipline
with me,
but it's a discipline. It's a discipline. We talk
Correct.
about it all the time. You have to be disciplined. I think retirement is real.
Mm-hmm.
Don't shy away from it. I mean, I'd hope that everybody listening to this podcast doesn't have to work the rest of their life. I hope that some of you can do the savings, spend the time with your family or your loved ones or whatever you want to do, traveling like George said. Make the most of it. But it starts today with the calculator to show you a roadmap and goals to put away.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Mr. Mike. And I think that's a wrap.